BS fact. I don't care what you say to me. The spelling bee is not a sport. And hashtag Redskin Pride means to me that they need to change the name of the Redskins. This is the BS Podcast Show. I'm your host, Brandon Fryer, a.k.a.
The Fry Guys.
Oh my God, yes. If you hear some noise in the background, we got the fan on up in here. It is hot than a mug up in here, and I'm sweating. It feels like spring. It's summery, but it got that spring feeling because my allergies are messed up. Mike's allergies messed up. Denea's allergies messed up. We got the A-team here in the building. Like I said, we got my boy Mike Howard. We got Denea here. We're going to do something special at halftime. You know, a big thing that's been floating around the internet is if you had $15, make your all-star team. Each one of us did it. We're going to explain why we have the team that we have and which team would win. So that's what we're going to break down at halftime. We also going to talk about, we got Stanley Cup final preview. We got the NBA final preview. We're going to get into some local, talk about the Blackhawks, talk about the Bears. Remember, I told you I'm doing the BS top 50 NBA players right now. And I'm going to give you 50 to 46. And then the rest, you know, the 45 to 41, you got to look on my tummy page. Remember, we're going to go all 50. We're going to get through all 50. And we can break it down next week's show about the 45 to 41. But we're just going to talk about the 50 and number 46 up to 46. We're going to do that. And we also going to get into Yo Ish. We got a great show for you. But before we do anything, you know what we got to do. We got to get you caught up with this BS update. And let's start off in the NBA, as there has been a report that Steve Ballmer and the Clippers agree on a $2 billion deal so the Clippers can be sold to him. The NBA has approved it, and they also decided that their June 3rd meeting of the NBA board meetings of the Board of Governors is now canceled. The Pacers will announce that they will bring back Frank Vogel as their head coach. Roy Hibbert's camp, by the way, has told the Pacers that he wouldn't oppose to a trade. Also, the Nets said Brook Lopez is available if you want him in the trade. The Heat, Shane Battier, has already decided what he's going to do retirement because he is signed on with ESPN as a college basketball analyst for the 2014 season. There's a report that Phil Jackson has been fined $25,000 for tampering with Derek Fisher, who is mulling over offers and deciding if he want to retire or be a head coach. The all-defensive team has been announced. The first team, Joakim Noah, Paul George, Serge Ibaka, and Andre Iguodala, along with CP3. There's also been a report that Jeff Bauer, he was the former New Orleans Pelicans or New Orleans Hornets like GM during that time. He's close to becoming the new Pistons GM. In the NFL, the Giants was busy making moves because they released Josh Freeman, quarterback, from their team. They also released safety Will Hill after he was already announced that he was suspended for 6 games for violating the substance abuse policy. Also, another player that violated that substance abuse policy is Cardinals linebacker Dale Washington, who's now, because he's a multiple offender of this, he's going to be suspended for a whole year. The Seahawks and wide receiver Doug Baldwin agreed to a 2-year extension, and there's been a report that despite rumors that Dallas is interested in Brian Urlacher and bringing him back, they said they do not have interest in Brian Urlacher. Maybe Jonathan Vilma, but not Brian Urlacher. In the NCAA, former Texas head coach Mack Brown will join ESPN as an analyst for them. In the MLB, John Singleton, he's a minor league prospect for the Houston Astros. He did something that kind of broke some history. It kind of made history, for that matter. He agreed to a 5-year extension. Big money involved, right? Not a big deal. But he hasn't even stepped foot in the MLB in the majors yet. He hasn't even took his first at bat yet, and he signs a big deal. So they're banking a lot on him. In racing, Jimmy Johnson wins the FedEx 400 for his second straight Sprint Cup win. And in soccer, Team USA tops Team Turkey in a World Cup international friendly. Let's get into some championship talk with hockey and basketball in our first quarter. So it looks like it's going to be a rematch from last year as the San Antonio Spurs will take on the Miami Heat. Game 1 will be Thursday, but I don't even like to call it Game 1. I like to call it Game 8 because it's a rematch. It's going to be all over again. The one thing, I was going to pick the Spurs to win this series, but I'm going to tell you why I think the Heat are going to get that three-peat. And first off is because of the health of Tony Parker. He got injured in the West Conference Finals. He did not return. He said he will play because it's the finals. Of course he's going to play. But to me, Tony Parker was the reason why the Spurs were looking like they was going to become 2013 NBA champs last year. He was the main force. And he was the reason why, because the Heat's weakness is if you got a strong point guard or a strong big man, you could probably beat him. Unless Tim Duncan goes off and just has a big game, which I think he's going to do okay, but I don't think he's going to really dominate. Tony Parker has that type of game where he can dominate and take over a game for the Spurs. So with that being said, he's injured, so I don't think a 60, 70% Tony Parker is enough for the Spurs to overcome the Heat. And also, LeBron James, they're going to probably put Boris Diaw on LeBron James. If you notice, LeBron James last season only shot 14% from the three-point line when Boris Diaw is sticking him. And I think LeBron James know that, going in with a whole different mindset. Now, one thing I did like, you don't really get too much from the Spurs. And you heard Tim Duncan say, I'm glad it's the Heat. We want the Heat. I'm ready to try to get over this and get over this hump. Knock them down finally. All that built up emotion was from last year. Now they finally got that chance to really overcome and kind of right their wrongs from what they did last year. But you saw the passion with Tim Duncan, which normally you don't see. He's very even keel. So now you see that. And LeBron James fighting back like they want us. They got us. We're ready for the challenge. I think this is going to go 6 games. And I'm going to give it to the Heat. Now, if they had a healthy Tony Parker, I would have said 7 games and it probably went to the Spurs. But I just don't know this time. I really think LeBron is going to turn it up another notch. To me, what would help the Heat, and this is for all championship teams, is the role players. Wade's going to do his thing. LeBron's going to do his thing. Now, Bosh also does his thing, but he's kind of inconsistent. If he consistently does his thing, then I definitely think Heat in 6. But it's the role players, the Mario Chalmers, the Shane Battiers, the Ray Allen, who won it last year. It's all about the role players. Chris Anderson. Those are the players that needs to step up. If they do their thing, you always get that role player stepping up, providing double-digit points, or the bench providing a big boost for the Heat, then that's going to help them get that championship to me. Same thing goes for the Spurs. You got Ginobili, Duncan, Parker, but besides that, you got Danny Green, who had a big game. You got Bellinelli, Boris Diaw. The role players are the key. So whoever role players on anybody's team steps up the most, I feel like he's going to get that championship. And I really think it's going to be the Heat, so I got the Heat in 6 for that series. Let's talk about another championship one going down in hockey. We got East Coast versus West Coast. The LA Kings versus the New York Rangers. Now, people keep saying, and people are kind of picking the New York Rangers more because they saying they're a team of destiny and just, they were the underdogs and it just feels like this is their time to win it. I don't think they're the team of destiny to me. I think the LA Kings are a team of destiny because they've played every Game 7 on the road and they have won. And it hurts me that they beat the Blackhawks, which I'm going to get into with them. But the Kings, to me, are a team of destiny. The fact that you can always, every series, you've been on the road, on a Game 7, look like you're about to be eliminated, and you overcome and you win. Jonathan Quick's, he having a rocky start, but both teams got good goaltenders. I'm just going to give it to the Kings. I just feel like they're the team that's the destiny to win it. That's me. They're destined to win the championship. Stanley Cup is theirs. I'm going with the Kings. I'm going to go with the Kings in 7. I was going to say 6, but I'm going to say the Kings again. They're going to have a Game 7, and they're going to win it again. So Kings in 7 against New York. That's my pick. Let's talk about the team that the Kings beat in the Chicago Blackhawks in our local edition in our second quarter. Like I said, I'm happy I got the A team here. And one thing I'm going to say is I'm going to let Mike speak because he asked me a good question. And that needs to be answered here on this show that I'm going to answer. Mike, hit me with that question.
Well, I asked straight up, being the Blackhawks, as a fan of the Blackhawks, if you're a fan, would you rather lose that close in overtime against the Kings, or would you rather get blown out? Because the fact that the Blackhawks were down 3-1, they got it all the way to a Game 7, and the fact that they lost that close, is that more heartbreaking rather than them just going to Game 7 and getting blown out? So I'm going to ask you, what do you think, B?
I mean, straight up, Mike, my opinion is, and I asked a couple of Blackhawks fans this earlier this week, yesterday, and, I don't consider myself a true Blackhawks fan. I'm not even going to front and act like I'm a Blackhawks fan just because they win. I don't want to be a bandwagon jumper. I'm a Chicago fan. From listening to my show, I love the Bulls. I'm a huge Bulls fan. Then it's the Bears. Then baseball goes in there. Since I'm from the South Side, it goes White Sox. Then, I do root for the Cubs too because it's Chicago. I love my city. And then I'm not going to lie, I root for the Blackhawks. And if listen to the show, I'm not a huge hockey fan. But so I talked to other Blackhawks fans. And granted, I was rooting for the Blackhawks because it's Chicago. I'm rooting for them. I want them to win the Stanley Cup. But I asked them, and, they thought about it, and they told me that they rather take the loss that they had, the close one, because they were that close. Because they said the fact that they would have got blown out, they said that, it would have showed that they didn't show up for the game. They wasn't in it. They wasn't mentally ready, and that would have frustrated them more, which made you want to think that you got to blow this team up because they're not there. They're not there. What's up with the coach and all this other stuff? Then it comes that talk. But the fact that they was that close, they're still intact. They're probably the favorites again to win the Stanley Cup next year. So the fact that they was that close, it was just an overtime goal away from going to the Stanley Cup Finals and probably pretty much winning it because every series that they was in, you can argue that can be, besides the Minnesota Wild, of course, that could be probably the Stanley Cup Final. Like when they play the Blues, the Kings is a tough one. So there's light at the end of the tunnel for the Blackhawks. I mean, they don't really have to blow a team. It was tough, but they played their hearts out. And that's all you can ask for from a team, honestly. Once the season was over, or, their season was over, the Blackhawks, a lot of people is now saying, well, football season's underway. This close to football season. And let's get into that because the Bears had OTAs. And I'm going to give you my takeaways from OTAs. One thing was their first round pick, Cal Fuller, was playing on the outside opposite of Charles Tillman. They had Tim Jennings actually play the inside, playing more of that nickel slot. So that showed that, remember they said Cal Fuller is going to have the opportunity to start because he's pretty much the predecessor to Charles Tillman. So with that being said, seeing that kind of shows you the different type of packages that their defense is going to do. Now, before you overreact and say, what, Tim Jennings not even going to start? Are you crazy? Tim Jennings, they already said that Charles Tillman, Tim Jennings are going to play the outside in that base 4-3 defense. But don't be surprised if they switch it up and have Cal Fuller on the outside, and then when they go into those nickel patches, maybe have Tim Jennings on the inside, or maybe flip Tim Jennings and Cal Fuller sometimes, kind of get Cal Fuller a little experience. Another thing I noticed, Shea McCullough playing linebacker. They said he had a good workout. McCullough even said that he's feeling great. This is his position that he was supposed to be playing. So I expect, I'm not going to say a breakout season, but he's going to have a pretty decent type of season at linebacker. We should tell. And another thing is because Hickson's hurt at the wide receiver, after that, who's going to play that 4th, 5th receiver? And a lot of people have been raving about Chris Williams. He was the punt returner in the CFL. He's shattered records. But they say he's looking pretty impressive to probably compete for that 4th receiver role. And, they expect him to be their punt returner, kickoff returner. But he's impressing people so far. Another person who's also impressing is Jordan Palmer. Mark Trestman has a lot of confidence in him as their number 2 quarterback, and I really think he's going to be their number 2 quarterback. Granted, you do got David Fells there, but I think he's going to be more of a grooming, unless he just explodes in preseason David Fells, and Jordan Palmer is just garbage. That's the only time you would see David Fells the number 2, but they got all the confidence in the world. He said, from looking at Josh McCown and seeing how he approached being the backup to Jay Cutler, he saw the preparation. He said a lot of it happened in OTAs, and Jordan Palmer is doing just that. hoping that he can have the same success as Josh McCown had the season before. So those are my takeaways. Halftime, like I said, we're going to get out of bounds a little bit. And a big thing that's craving all over the internet is people have been putting out these, if you have $15, you got to make an all-star team. And they got it from the point guard from like $5, $4, $3, $2, $1. And it goes in that order for point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. And it's some of the best in the game. All these players are mostly Hall of Famers or even going to be Hall of Famers. So me, Denea, and Mike all decided to do our own. And we're going to describe, and we're going to explain like why we think our squad is better than the other one. You know. So let me get to Denea. Denea here, she's here in the building. Go, Denea.
Hi.
Yeah, people don't think that she's here. She's in the building. And you already heard Mike, so you know he's here. But I'm going to go, let's start off with Mike. Mike, tell us what your squad is.
Okay, I get John Stockton as my point guard. Shooting guard, I get Michael Jordan. Small forward, I get LeBron James. Then I think I get Dirk Nowitzki as my power forward. And then Akeem Olajuwon as my center.
Okay, Denea, go ahead.
I have Isaiah Thomas as my point guard, Michael Jordan as my shooting guard, Scottie Pippen as my small forward, Karl Malone as my power forward, and Hakeem Olajuwon as my center.
Okay. I like Mike's list. I like Denea's list. But I'm about to S on you with mine. Point guard, I got Isaiah Thomas. Shooting guard, got Michael Jordan. Small forward, I got Scottie Pippen. But this is where it gets a little different. I know Denea's rolling her eyes because she's like, you got the same team as me. This is where it gets real. Power forward, I got Kevin Garnett. And then center, I got Bill Russell. Now, the reason why I'm saying my lineup is better than both of y'all, because first off, granted, they're all Hall of Famers and will be Hall of Famers. They're all champions. And which makes my list better, before y'all interrupt, I only used $14 to create mine. Wasn't even trying to. I got $1 left, and I could have got somebody else, but it's supposed to be a starting lineup, and that's rule of the game. I have a cheaper team, and my team would beat both of you guys' team.
You get what you pay for.
That's your theory.
One line, that's all.
Honestly, I'm going to have to agree with Denea because you get what you pay for. $14, you ain't going to do nothing.
But see, if you notice how certain NBA teams work, the most expensive team doesn't necessarily always mean it's the championship. Or they're going to win the championship.
You didn't pay for much, so you're going to lose.
I really think my team is just greater because I have the best, which neither one of y'all put. Y'all both got Scottie Pippen. I got the best small forward in the game in LeBron James. Because you know he will be great. I'm not saying he's the best player, but the best small forward. I know y'all love Scottie Pippen. He's Chicago. LeBron James will kill Scottie Pippen, hands down, no question asked.
But would he work well with Michael Jordan?
I think so because even though they don't like each other, LeBron James loves to share the basketball. Michael Jordan loves to shoot the basketball. I mean, why wouldn't they like playing with each other?
You're annoying. I'm over it.
See, if you just don't agree with her, she just already tuning you out.
Yes, I'm no longer listening to anybody.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, y'all be the judge. No, she's
I'm
not
the
the
winner.
winner.
No, I'm the winner.
I'm a winner.
I have LeBron James, the best player, over all of y'all. I'm sorry. That's what y'all lineups are flawed. LeBron James and Michael Jordan on the same team, I'm killing y'all.
Everybody just went to sleep because of him.
Okay, I'm about to give you my top 50 BS NBA players right now. I'm doing 50 to 41, but I want y'all to go on my Tumblr page. That's the fryguyBS.tumblr.com to see the full 50 to 41. I'm only going to give you half on this segment, so I'm only giving you 50 to 46. Right now, the top 50 player right now in the game, is Indiana Pacers center Roy Hibbert. And granted, he started off the season like gangbusters. Just, he could have been the NBA Defensive Player of the Year. Granted, he fell off, so he was playing at a high peak where he looked like he was probably the best center in the NBA right now. Now to a player that's like, probably shouldn't even be on the NBA's team starting lineup, probably on the bench, probably like as a bench warmer. So if you got from the best to the bench warmer, to me, that puts you right in the middle. So even though Roy Hibbert struggled throughout the playoffs and in the second half of the season, to me, he's still one of the best big men in the game right now. Number 49, I got Brook Lopez. Now, I did include injured players on this list, and he's the first one that I'm going to name because I qualify it as if you're on an NBA team, you count. And right now, Brook Lopez to me is the most, probably, arguably, the most offensive center in the game right now. Granted, he's always been injured. That's his flaw, and he don't get too many rebounds. But his post skills are better than most, probably besides Al Jefferson. So I have him definitely, he's better to me right now than Roy Hibbert. Roy Hibbert is more defense. He don't really have offensive skills, while Brook Lopez is more offense with not too many defensive skills. But he's a big body who can clog up the lane. Right now, if I had to pick between Roy Hibbert and Brook Lopez, I'm taking Brook Lopez. Number 48, I have Paul Millsap. To me, I feel like he's the most underrated power forward in the game just because he's small and he played in Utah. But you got to look at when Al Horford went down, he stepped up and put up Al Horford type numbers, and he kind of led the Hawks into the playoffs. He was like the number 1 or 1A scoring threat for them throughout the playoffs, and he performed big against the Pacers that almost knocked out the Pacers. So he's number 48. Number 47, I have Eric Bledsoe. This man arguably should have probably been a snub, and he should have been really on the Western Conference All-Star team. But, you know, injuries kind of knocked him down some, and he probably should have been most improved player, but he probably didn't get that either because of injuries. But he's still showing that he should be a starting point guard or a starting guard on an NBA team. So he's proven like, hey, I'm not just a sixth man, I'm more than that. So that's why he's number 47 on this list. Number 46, I got Ty Lawson. To me, he's the best player on the Denver Nuggets, and I think he's the only player on the Denver Nuggets on this whole list, matter of fact. So Ty Lawson, to me, is number 46 because he leads that team. He's arguably one of the fastest point guards in the NBA right now. He's pretty much the key piece to Denver Nuggets right now. He's the best player on that team. Arguably. I mean, put up, what do you want to say, Kenneth Faried? No, it's Ty Lawson. He makes that team go. That's why, and he's a very underrated point guard, and that's why he's number 46. If you want to check out 45 through 41, go on my Tumblr page. That's the fryguyBS.tumblr.com. Check out the whole list from 50 to 41, and you see my explanation why I got them listed on there. Next quarter. Fourth quarter, know what it's time for? My favorite segment, Your Issues. When you send me questions via Twitter, that's at this BS show. And I answer them here, right here on this segment. First, like my man Michael Bowley said, if the NFL goes to London and/or LA, what team will move? I have 3 choices. 1, Jacksonville Jaguars. They're the easiest choice because they don't get too many fans there. They may have to relocate. But because they got that stadium lease agreement, it might take them a little longer. So that's why I got these 2 other teams ahead of them. And that's the San Diego Chargers. To me, I feel like they're the more obvious choice. I see them probably going maybe to London. I can see that happening because I see this team going to LA, and that's the Oakland Raiders. They've been moving back and forth. They've been having, they have a horrible stadium. They've been talking about moving to LA. But the thing with LA is, if a team comes there, you got to make sure you watch it. They had 2 NFL teams in that city, and nobody came to see them when they had the LA Raiders and then when they had the LA Rams. And you saw they both leave. Oakland had to take that team right back. Like, come on back, Raiders. But I see those teams. I see Oakland actually going to LA, and then I see probably San Diego Chargers. They could go to LA, but if they're trying to move a team in London, I can definitely see the Jaguars or the San Diego Chargers go to London. Murder Muscle said, what do the NBA conference losers need to do to improve for next season? Okay, the first thing, already the Pacers already said they're going to retain Frank Vogel. I actually think they should have let him go and probably hired Mark Jackson as their head coach. But if you're going to keep this team, you got to build a better bench. You need a point guard too. Really, the main thing is that point guard. George Hill to me is not a point guard. Actually, have him come off the bench and be your kind of combo guard coming off the bench, and really get a legitimate point guard to help run the offense and give Roy Hibbert the ball, and probably a little more leader, some leadership on that team. You need more leadership, probably some more vets in there, more proven vets to help build a leadership, because Paul George's leadership skills are still a work in progress. For the Thunder, I say they just need post presence. They need a new coach too. I think Scotty Brooks is not a good X and O coach. They need someone to me, George Karl. I think they need him, and they need some post presence. Everything else is there. They need a back to the basket type of player, somebody who can get them buckets inside, because they don't have that. They get a bunch of shooters. They need more. Ike for Gospel said, "This whole Redskins pride is stupid, right?" Yeah, it is stupid, because the Washington Redskins sent a tweet to what was the senator? The senator was Senator Harry Reid, because Harry Reid, the senator, said they need to change their name because it's offensive, and the Redskins don't want to change the name, so they told their Twitter followers to tweet Senator Harry Reid and tell him what Redskin pride means to you. And you got some good ones, you got some bad ones, you got some ones in between. But to me, it means that they need to just change the name. I don't care about the history of that. Change the name. It's offensive. It's to me, calling someone the Washington N-words. I don't like that. Change the name. It's offensive to Native Americans. My BS player of the game this week goes to the Miami Heat, because this is their 4th straight final appearance. And that's some history there, because only 2 other teams accomplished that feat, and that's the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers. So the fact that the Miami Heat have done this, and they're only 13 to do it, they are this week's BS player of the game. My Fuller Bull goes to Larry Bird, because he's saying, and he was quoted saying, he was irked by Lance Stephenson's, blowing in LeBron's ear and doing all these little antics. I kind of remember some footage of Larry Bird back in the day doing that same type of stuff, probably even more physical with other teammates. He used to be the biggest trash talker in the NBA to me. So back in those times in the 80s, so that's like the saying, the pot calling the kettle black. Did I do that right? Mm-hmm. All right. Denea said I did it right. So Larry Bird, do not feed me BS and call it sugar grits. Say that ish for the birds. I want y'all to go on my Tumblr page. That's the fryguyBS.tumblr.com. Go on there. Remember, we got our top 50 BS version of NBA players right now. We got numbers 50 to 41 up there right now. We got Amon Shepard of the New York Knicks. He got a rap video of Chirac. You got to check it out. It's a little weird. I also did an article. What if these 10 high school players went to college? And I said how it affected that and which college would they choose. So I did an article on that. Check that out. Also, I did another article of the vacant NBA head coaching jobs. I'm saying which coaches should go where and what coach should they choose, actually. I also got our picks of the week up there. The MLB draft is coming up, so I got the MLB Power Rankings draft board, our big board. We got ours up there, so go on there, check it out. Also, go on Twitter page. That's at This BS Show. Send me your question so I can answer it on your ish on our segment. I like to thank Denea and Mike Howard for being here, helping me out. Angela Lewis, Devin Washington, Lawrence Holmes, Connor McKnight, the Game family, Jonathan Hood, you guys, the viewers, for listening. Send me your feedback. Remember, life is a game, so play hard all 4 quarters. This has been another edition of This BS Podcast Show. I'm your host, Brandon Fry, a.k.a. The Fry Guy. 2 fingers in the air. Peace. I see you next week, man. Oh, my God. My nose has been, running the whole time. These allergies are killing me. Took me some Benadryl. Talking about take 1 or 2 if you're a dog. I'm a grown man. I took 3. Man, I'm just feeling like I'm about to fall out. I shouldn't did that.
Bye-bye. Trip. I'm out of here anyway. Peace out.